If you look at her from the front, or worse, from the other side of the figure, right here, then her eyes will look kind of misaligned. Hi and welcome back to the channel. I'm Steven, today with a low budget scale figure review. And you know what? At this point, I think I'm addicted to these low budget, cheap anime figures coming out from Chinese brands, where they are so good that they actually surpass pop-up rates and even full real tentacles, yet they maintain that under 10,000 yen price point, which is amazing. Not to mention, a lot of them are at 1/6 scale, not smaller, right? And this is just one of many. So we are looking at Bear Panda's 1/6 scale Bara, that's her name. And this is an original artwork by TACCO. This figure was released back in January in China, and I think internationally February, so some of you may have received the figure by now. And this figure is going for around 250 Chinese yuan over in Taobao in China, and I believe the international price is around 7,500 Japanese yen. Yeah, so a little bit more expensive than the China domestic price, but still worth it. I mean, this is under 10k and you're getting a 1/6 scale figure that is painted to perfection like this. I mean, look at her hair over here, a lot of very nice shading. You don't find this in pop-up rate, right? As long as you like the character design, I would highly recommend you guys to pick up regardless of how the quality is like. But now that you get to see this figure in my review, I think I can convince you further to pick one up. Yeah. The height of this figure, from the bottom of the base all the way up to the top of her ears over here, 28 centimeters. Head height over here, including the base, is 26.5. So this is definitely 1/6 scale. And as for the box over here, yeah, the box is pretty ordinary. Nothing too special about it. Obviously, a low budget figure over here. But the quality is quite good, very solid. In fact, this is a harder box than that 1/4 scale Roxy Megadia figure by Fat Company, which I did an unboxing together with. So think about that for a second, right? Moving on to the unboxing process. Well, for a figure this simple, a swimsuit figure, there is actually some assembly process involved. And me, with my own bad habits, I did not read the instruction sheet, and then I found out that I need to put on her ankle cuffs before I put on her shoes. So I had to take the figure apart and put it back together like twice. Her shoes are a little bit tight, but nothing too difficult. And yeah, on her left over here, you can see that her hair strand is removable because you need to plug in her tail first before you put the figure together. One of the weirdest thing was that Bear Panda glued her head permanently onto the neck joint over here, and in order to insert the tail, which was being obstructed by her hair, the instruction sheet is telling me to, yeah, push her head aside, push her hair aside, and force it in. And that was pretty scary. I was thinking, will I end up breaking her neck? Did not happen because the material is somewhat flexible, but it was still a scary process to go through. So I find it weird that Bear Panda made the front hairpiece and the faceplate removable, gave you a second faceplate with a 3D eye, but they did not make her head removable. Why not? Why glue it together? I don't get it. Yeah, so that is a weird decision coming from them. As for the additional faceplate, well, your usual 3D eye tracking faceplate of some kind, where depending on the angle you're looking at the figure from, you can see her eyes following you, which is a very nice gimmick to have. Some people love it, and apparently this is common with the doll community. But for anime figures like this, I prefer it to be the traditional decal eye, so I will stick to the default way of displaying this figure. The foot peg is just the right amount of tightness, very nice, and you do get a substantial metal foot peg as always, even though this is a low budget figure. But as for the stability of this figure, not very good, just average in fact, because only one leg is plugged into the figure, so the figure does wobble quite a bit when you shake her. This is not the worst I've seen, but certainly not the best either. This is just average. Fortunately, the figure is not too heavy, not very top heavy, so I think you will be fine. You don't have to worry about this figure too much. As for this tail over here, we're getting a real fabric material, a real hairy material of some kind, but it looks good on this figure, so otherwise I don't have much complaints. Moving on to the sculpting on this figure. This is where I have a lot to talk about. There are good things and some negative things, but the negative part is really a problem with converting 2D artwork into 3D objects in general, right? Overall sculpting of the body, the main figure itself, no problems at all. If you compare it to the official product photos by the company, they look exactly alike. So it has never been a problem for Bear Panda when it comes to getting the sculpting right. And the body sculpting is certainly exquisite for a low budget figure. It looks really good. And if I were to show you these close-up pictures over here, even though this is just a swimsuit bikini figure, look closer and you will find some small details worth appreciating, which is also painted to perfection. So this is a really nice work coming from Bear Panda in the sculpting department. And then moving on to the sculpt on the face, this is where things can get a little bit controversial. Is that the right word? So once again, I'm taking information and feedback from my Discord server, say. You said that her face looks a little bit weird. What do you guys think about her eyes? And this is where the problem comes when you convert a 2D artwork, a flat object, into a 3-dimensional solid object. Sometimes things can look weird depending on which angle you're looking at the figure from. And this is one of those figures which only looks nice from a very specific angle. And this angle right here, where this is the front of the figure, I need to rotate the figure by 45 degrees to the right, and you'll need to look at her from somewhere this angle, right? This angle from her left corner, and ideally you'll want to look at her from a lower angle upwards, slightly lower angle, and you will notice how beautiful her face looks, and it looks exactly like the original artwork. However, if I were to turn the figure and make her facing the front over here, right? If you look at her from the front, or worse, from the other side of the figure, right here, then her eyes will look kind of misaligned, right? Yeah, so this is not a problem with the figure. No, it is just the way this figure is. And this is not the only figure suffering from this problem. I think another example I can give is this specific Tatsumaki figure from One Punch Man. Was it the Amakuni one, or was it the Belfine one? I can't remember anymore. I'm just putting the picture on screen over here. So this figure has the same problem, where if you look at her from the correct angle, her eyes looks amazing, her face looks accurate, but you just rotate the figure a little bit and then the eyes look misaligned. So once again, problems with converting 2D into 3D. What I can say about this figure is that there is no problems with the face at all. But unfortunately, this is a figure where you want to place at the correct spot on your shelf, so that whenever you look at her from the correct angle. Moving on to the paintwork of this figure. This is a simple figure, and simplicity means my expectations are kind of high, because for figures that are simple with fewer parts, then I would expect you to do a proper job with the paintwork. Even more so when this is not a prize figure, and Bear Panda did deliver in this regard. In addition to the small details on her bikini that I showed to you guys earlier, if you look at the back of this figure, especially her hair, there are so many different shades of brown color. A lot of heavy shading over here, and this is the kind of paintwork that I don't even see in some more expensive scale figures by Japanese brands, not to mention pop up rates, right? Pop up rates are somewhat forgivable given their price points, but some scale figures are not even as good as this Bara figure over here, while costing more than double. Yeah, so paintwork over here on this figure, I can give it a very high rating of 9.5 out of 10. You see, I'm factoring in the price of the figure over here. If this was a 20,000 yen figure, the paintwork would be an 8 out of 10 maximum. But this is a 7,500 yen figure, and they could make no mistakes on it. This is a 9.5 out of 10 in paintwork for a low budget scale figure. That tells you how impressed I am. Yeah, so with quality control issues, none of them over here. No paint bleeding, no paint transfer, no scratches of any kind. If you look at the side of her head over here on both sides, no ugly gaps or seam lines as well. And every part fit nicely with the correct amount of tightness. So paintwork is as good as it gets at this price point. Moving on to the base, this is just a quick mention. The base is a round black disc, and that is fine for a figure this cheap. But my favorite part has to be, yes, the matte black finish. It is not glossy, it is not a fingerprint magnet, it is matte, and that means it is also a lot harder to scratch. That is only a good thing. So I really wish that more figures will come with a matte base instead of a glossy one. So with this specific character over here, this is not the only scale figure of Bara. The one made by Sculpt, which came out more than a year ago, I think even 2 years ago by now, that one has bargain binned badly over in China's Taobao. You can find one for around 500 Chinese yuan or even less than that. And that version comes with the bonus of being cast off a bird. Yeah, opai, I know. Not to mention, down there is also some detail, though the detail level is pretty average. However, if you are not content with getting red gates over in solo leveling, you want a pink gate, then yeah, go and get the one by Sculpt. Pink gate. And then there is at least a third version of this character made by Union Creative, which has not been released yet at the time of recording this review. That one goes for a pretty expensive, like 25,000 yen, I think. Yeah, more than 20k in short. I think it was almost 25k. And to be honest, no matter how much better that figure is going to be compared to this version over here, I'm not sure if 25k is justifiable. 18,000 yen or 20,000 yen max, maybe. So at this point, this is the cheapest Bara figure you can find, and one that I can highly recommend. I would even go as far to say it is a no-brainer. This is so cheap. Yeah, you can't cast her off, but the body sculpt is exquisite, right? As long you don't live with your parents or your parents allow you to collect figures like this, then go ahead and pick one up. Yeah. So that is all for today's figure review. If you found it helpful or informative, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel for more content like this. Once again, if you haven't done so, please do check out my Discord server. Anyone can join. And if you feel like supporting this channel in any way, do check out my Patreon as well. All of the links are in the descriptions below. And once again, thanks a lot for watching. I'll see you guys very soon. Goodbye.